retweet that. All right.
Guys, we are back for another exciting episode of the hashtag Wednesday Match Play presented by Eat Sleep Golf. And last time I saw you, I was in a hotel room in insert city state name here. I don't even know where I was. And now I'm here at home, actually in my home, but my stuff's not here. So I'm sitting in a beach chair on a patio with nothing. So if there's an echo, I blame that. But we're back actually tonight, and we've never done this before on the hashtag Wednesday Match Play. So I'm going to consider this because it's the season of giving. It's us giving you 2 episodes in one night. So right now we've got Jon Sherman from Practical Golf. We're going to talk about him and talk about all the stuff he's doing, the content he's creating, the books that he's got, the instructors he works with, pretty much a laundry list of stuff. Next up, we've got Jesus Martinez from Top Golf. So I'm going to make sure that this gets branded as a package. So I hope that both Jon and Jesus are okay with that. But I can sit here and talk about what Jon does and all the content he's got. And I mean, it's a lot of stuff. And we've got a bunch of questions. We got a bunch from Eat Sleep Golf. We got a bunch from myself because I'm just excited to learn more. But I'm going to let him kind of give us the elevator pitch of what Practical Golf is all about. So, Jon, welcome to the Wednesday Match Play.
Hey, Ricky. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So tell us a little about what it is, who you are, what you do. Like, I mean, you just told me how cold it was where you are. So
yeah,
you know,
I'm not golfing right now. I'll tell you that. I started my site a couple of years ago, and my goal was pretty simple. I just wanted to help golfers enjoy the game more because I know that's something everyone struggles with. I've struggled with it mightily over my golfing life, and I wanted to help people improve. But I wanted to give that help through a player's perspective, and that was kind of my twist on game improvement. So I started writing articles, and then it just kind of took off from there.
That's really cool. So, you know, you've got quite a bit of a history to you, and I've done a little bit of research. The team at Eat Sleep Golf has done the same, and I didn't know this. Now, you're a former Google employee. Now, before I'm going to tee you up here to hit a home run now, whether or not you follow through all of these golf puns, right? I mean, they're crazy.
Sure.
One, are you a fan of Google Plus? And now, keep in mind, before you answer this, this is an interview show that is live to YouTube, and it will be appearing in the Google Plus golf community, which just hit 24,000 members. So 2-part question. Are you a fan of Google Plus, and why aren't you active in the golf community?
I wouldn't say, I'll be diplomatic. I'm not a user of Google Plus. I'm a big, I was a Google employee. I have very positive feelings about the company. They're great people, and I think they're doing amazing things for this world, and will continue to do that. My social network bandwidth is limited. I spend a lot of time on Twitter, probably too much, and then I got some time on Facebook, and then combined with having 2 kids, wife, amateur golf career, work, the site, everything. So I have to pick and choose my spots. And unfortunately, Google Plus is not part of that yet. Maybe we'll change that after
I'll
today.
allow that. Now, if nothing else can help push you over the Facebook edge, because the more I use Facebook, the less I like Facebook. The golf community does have 24,000 members. So
yeah, I mean, listen, there's pockets of golfers everywhere online, and there's tons of Facebook groups and all this stuff. And like, I personally, I don't participate a lot in forums. I was on Reddit for a while, and it didn't. The type of stuff I like to discuss really wasn't in line with what golfers want to discuss on most forums. So we'll just leave it at that.
Okay, I'll allow that. Now, tell me, what is the Practical Golf Insider?
That's a program I created with some teachers that I respect. I consider myself to kind of be a golf coach now. That doesn't mean I'm an instructor, though, and I think there's a difference there. I connected with a bunch of instructors who I think have great information about the golf swing, how to practice more effectively, just overall information about the game that I believe could help golfers. So we got them together. We shot a lot of drills that anyone can do, whether they're at home, at the range. We did some interviews, practice games and drills that people can use on the course or at home as well. And some eBooks as well. So it's we wanted to make a comprehensive learning experience, and it's all geared about practicing more effectively, because I just don't think most golfers do that properly. And I know I didn't do it for a really long time myself.
Well, I will be the first to admit that I don't practice because of time. I mean,
sure.
the number of networks that you use, you can add to my list Instagram and, Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, Google Plus. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, I use Slack and Untapped and Foursquare and Swarm, and I'm done because I'm out of breath. But now, to that point, I will, before I play, and I like to play every week if I can. So before I play, I spend a full hour, hour and a half practicing, but I have a very specific warm-up / practice routine and the number of balls I hit. And I'm not just out there beating balls. I cannot go to a golf course and to a range and beat balls for an hour and a half and go home and not have played 18 holes. Like I can't do that. So I'll never be a practicer. I'm a player, and that's why I don't practice. So now, that being said, let's go back to you and your website. Your website, on the homepage, you have an awesome video. First off, who produced that video? Like, that is really well done.
I had someone on the internet did it for me. I've never met the person. I hired them. Some videos that they did, and I was really happy with it. I think he was through one of those graphic design for hire sites. I got that done, but I had a lot of input. We probably did like 10 different versions of that.
That's really cool. Now, in that video, and I told him to watch on Twitter a little bit ago, and actually on your website, and I found him after the fact. I tweeted to him, and I saw him on the video, and then realized it was him on the video. So the question doesn't have as much power and oomph as I wanted it to. Brandon Stooksbury appears in that video, and he's on your website. Brandon is a dear friend of mine, and I've known him for many, many years. And he's probably mad at me, so he might not be watching because I've been trying to go see him in Georgia for the last about year and a half. But Brandon, I'm sorry if you're watching. Now, what's your relationship with him and the laundry list of guys? I mean, everybody on there, Andrew Rice. I mean, you got a ton of big names that you're working with. So how do you know Brandon, and how did you pick that list of pros to work with?
There's two parts to my site. Most of it is, the articles I've written. So I've written about 200 articles, and that's kind of like, my contribution to the golf world. And I don't really talk about the swing or technical stuff. And then what I did was I got all those instructors, Andrew Rice, Adam Young, Brandon Stooksbury, and some other names on there to do what they do best. Brandon, although he teaches all parts of the golf game, I think he's a great communicator, which is the most important thing when you're talking about instruction or coaching. He's wonderful on camera. And I think he's got some great information on the short game specifically that a golfer of any level can not only understand, but go to the course tomorrow and pretty much put into practice what he talks about. So I just, I saw his book. I saw some of the videos he had done, and I just got in contact with him, and we had a few conversations and we hit it off. And he was nice enough to shoot some videos for the site, which was great.
So had you not mentioned the book, I was going to say he's got a pretty good wedge game, don't you think? And then nudge, nudge.
Yeah, I mean, he's got, there's a lot of instructors out there who are kind of pushing this like wedge 2.0 knowledge. The old days it used to be, and I subscribe to this theory. Put the ball in the back of your foot, get your hands way ahead, the hinge and hold, and then that still works for plenty of golfers, and they can make it work. But they kind of figured out with modern wedges and bounce and all these the different lofts, like there's a more effective way of playing shots from the rough, tight lies, the bunker. And Brandon's one of the instructors that has that current information that I thought, golfers should be seeing. And he's, like I said, most importantly, the way he communicates it is great, because you can have all this wonderful information, but if you can't make a connection with a golfer in terms of how you communicate it, then it's not going to work. And that's why I like Brandon so much.
So don't tell Brandon this either. There's a lot of stuff. Maybe he shouldn't be watching this. If it's 85 yards and in, and I don't care if I'm 5 feet off the green or I'm 19 yards or whatever, I got a 56-degree wedge in my hand. That's bunkers, that's greenside, that's fairway. And I know that's not what he talks about in his book. And I read the book, and I don't practice what he said. So sorry, Brandon.
And that's okay. I mean,
you don't like this.
He's the first person who would tell you if that works for you and that's comfortable for you, then, go for it if you're getting positive results with that. And personally, I'm kind of with you. I mostly around the greens use my 60-degree wedge on almost every shot when I probably shouldn't, but that's the club I'm comfortable with and I get good results with. And then I'll mix in the sand wedge, but I'm not the player who uses lower lofted clubs. But if you do listen to what he has to say and you're willing to put it into practice and use all kinds of lofts and produce different trajectories, it's not terribly complicated when you look at the information that someone like him will show you. It's just a matter of getting the practice in, feeling comfortable with it, and then bringing it onto the course, which every golfer knows is easier said than done.
So Eat Sleep Golf always sends in a bunch of good questions, and I think they wrote this question on purpose because it's a segue into our next guest, Jesus at Topgolf. They said that they recently read an article that you had written on Topgolf. I don't know what that article is. I haven't read it, but tell us a little bit about that, because there must have been an experience worked in there somewhere.
Yeah, so there's no Topgolf where I live on Long Island in New York. There's no Topgolf here, which is astounding to me. I think they could easily build 4 or 5 of them and they'd be packed all day long. So I was out in Vegas last week, so I got in touch with the Topgolf team out there, and they were nice enough to host me, give me a tour, and I hit balls for an hour. And I just kind of took in everything about the experience. And I had, heard a lot about it, obviously, mostly good stuff, but there's people in the golf community that kind of fear Topgolf and what it means for the future of golf. Particularly, they think that, if people are introduced to the game through that experience, then they might not want to play a full round of golf because it can be too boring or not fun enough. I didn't personally see it that way. I saw a bunch of people having a great time with a golf club in their hand. Most of them were beginners, and I thought it was a great way to introduce the game to people through fun. And something I wrote in the article that they told me there is that 70% of the people who go to Topgolf are actually not golfers. So I can't imagine that a portion of those people will end up becoming interested in the game, even addicted, and want to play on a real golf course. So I thought the place was amazing. I had a great time. They put a ton of effort into, every detail there. So I personally think Topgolf is good for the future of golf.
I do too. And Matt Henderson, who actually used to be the director of golf there, who was on a recent episode of, speaking of Brandon Stooksbury, you should talk to him about this, because Brandon and Matt used to work at TPC Las Vegas, and then Matt went to Topgolf, and now he's back at TPC in Las Vegas.
I played TPC Vegas while I was out there.
Awesome. Did you get to meet Matt?
No, I played TPC Vegas, and then the next day I went to TPC Summerlin, and I met Joe Mayo, who many people know as the TrackMan Maestro. I spent a few hours with him the next day, so I had a good time out in Vegas.
Very cool. So to the Topgolf thing, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit in the next show with Jesus. I think that Topgolf is awesome. I love it, and I've been in 4 or 5 times, but I'm a golfer. In the same way that I go bowling, and I'm not a bowler, I don't necessarily think that those 70% of people that are going to Topgolf that aren't golfers necessarily will become golfers. I think that it's a cool, entertaining concept. I'm glad that it exists. It's fun. I'd rather go do that than go to a movie or to go to dinner or what have you, but I can go there and listen to good music. I can play golf, and as a golfer, I can have all of that wrapped into one. I'm not sure if there are numbers, and I'm going to ask Jesus that, if there are numbers that show
it's probably too early to tell. But like I said, it can't hurt the game. I don't believe that.
That's a good way to look at it.
I think, if anyone's going to make a criticism of golf, and I think the golf industry is waking up to this, is that it's not fun enough. Would be a word that people throw around. And, that's one of my goals. I said with my site, I want to make golf more fun for people. And that's mostly about managing expectations about what your game should be. But when you're talking about Topgolf, it's just pure fun, and golf is involved. So I like you said, we don't know how many golfers that are people who go there will become golfers, but I have to believe it will be some portion of them.
So your website is full of content, and it's awesome content left and right. And I've always said that there is no such thing as too much content.
Well, yeah.
So that being said,
I listen to you then.
Where do you get the content, and do you ever get stuck trying to come up with new content to write about? I mean, writer's block for bloggers. It's real.
I think I'm up to 200 articles. I've written a full book. I think I counted once. I'm up to somewhere between, over the last 2 years, I've written somewhere between 500,000 to 1 million words. So I've written a lot, and I don't worry about not being able to keep producing content because I love golf. I'm passionate about golf. I want to help people. And every time I go to the course, every time I hear something or see a tweet or whatever, like I just get this little, spark that gives me an idea for an article. And there are certain topics that I like to explore, so I keep them within that framework. So these days I'm trying to write maybe less articles, but make the ones that I do write a little bit more in depth and higher quality, rather than trying to churn out like 2, 3, 4 articles a week, because I'm sure as a blogger, you could just get burnt out doing that.
Exactly. That's what that
so
comes in.
that's one thing I'm trying to do is, do more research. I mean, I do a lot of work with a local club fitter and an article that we're going to come out with in a couple of weeks. It took us hours of testing to do. It took me a while to write it. There's a lot of collaboration. So it wasn't like I just got the idea and wrote the article the next day. So that's kind of the approach I'm trying to take with some of my articles now.
So have you ever written about something, whether it's club fitting or personal opinions or news items or what have you, that you've not agreed with? Have you ever written content in an effort to write content to generate, clickbait is what they call it. And that's not always clickbait, but have you ever done that?
No.
Good.
I shouldn't say that. I just lied.
I said good, now no good.
I think the first few months that I started the site, I really didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do. And, I started writing news stuff and opinion pieces, like Tiger Woods stuff. And it just wasn't, I think you got to write about what you're passionate about. And for me, it's really game improvement. And that could take on a number of different topics. But, I'm not really interested in writing about what Rory McIlroy is doing or, the current state of the game. There's plenty of other people who are doing that. And they're doing it really well. Like, I don't think we need more of those writers.
You said Tiger. Your articles about Tiger are about him being the greatest golfer of all time and breaking Jack's record, right?
Yeah, I do. I've, watched Tiger since the beginning, and, I didn't have the pleasure of watching Jack Nicklaus. So naturally, I'm going to err on the side of Tiger. But yeah, I'm a big Tiger fan. I'm not afraid to admit it. I get in kind of some arguments on Twitter about it. It's fun. I love watching Tiger Woods play golf. I won't be ashamed of it. but I'm not going to write about it because that's not my thing. So to answer your question, I write about topics that I'm interested in, and I think will give value to people reading it. Sometimes that's not what a million golfers want to read about, and that's okay. But, I try and pick topics that I think are going to have, mass appeal. I truly believe everything I write about, any golfer on the planet could, potentially, it could spark an idea in their game and hopefully help them.
So you mentioned Rory's name, and I've said for a long time, I would, as a golfer first, as a Tiger fan second, I would rather watch Tiger shoot 84 than to watch Rory shoot 63. And I mean that. If Tiger's not on the field, I could not care less. I'd rather go play 18 holes of golf than watch.
Listen, Rory is, there's no question, he's one of the most gifted golfers to ever play the game. And, I think when all's said and done, he's going to be up there with 9, 10, 11 majors, something like that. I might be wrong on the low side or the high side. I don't know. I think from people from our generation, like nothing's going to move the needle like Tiger ever again. It was the same thing with I was a Michael Jordan fanatic growing up. The NBA just isn't the same for me anymore. Like ever since Jordan retired, I can't watch it. I still watch, but it's not the same for me. Like I'll always watch golf, but I don't think it's going to be the same for me when Tiger officially hangs it up, whether it's, this year or 10 years from now.
It's not going to be this year. Calm down.
I hope not. But, listen, Rory he's incredible. Like there's so many amazing golfers out there now. I love watching them all, but emotionally, it's just not the same. And I think a lot of people would have that opinion and others would disagree and say, Tiger's done. Let's move on to the next guys. So there's a lot of opinions on that topic, and that's why I don't write about it.
Yeah. So having written a book titled 101 Mistakes All Golfers Make, what would you say is the number one mistake that golfers are making? And I probably would venture to say out of those 101, I make about 67 of them.
All right, well, I made all of them. I got the book right here. And, number one in the book, you can't see it that clearly, but it's copying someone else's swing. I think, and I didn't write the book to be negative. Some people assume that the title is negative. It's really, there are really 101 tips there, but I frame them through mistakes, and I've made all of them. I've witnessed all of them. And, I think the golf swing is, not to be like melodramatic, it's kind of like a snowflake. It's very unique. It's your fingerprint as a golfer. And, we all watch the pros on TV and see all this swing analysis, and most of the talk in the golf world is technical in nature. And I think a lot of recreational golfers take their cues from what they're seeing on Golf Channel and these moves these guys are making. And it screws them up. I know a lot of people who've been around PGA Tour players, and they all say the same thing. They're freaks of nature. There's nothing you can copy from a PGA Tour player in terms of their swing that I think you can apply to your game. There might be ways they approach their practice, their mental game, their strategy that, you could take some lessons from that. But in terms of copying a pro's swing or someone else's, I don't know. I feel like you should work with what you've got, your body type, your natural tendencies, and try and mold a swing from that, rather than just going on YouTube and trying to make every single move that you see on there. Listen, there are a lot of mistakes that we all make as golfers, but I think that's, one of the cardinal sins out there.
Yeah, my feet point left, my divots point right, and the ball goes straight. So I don't even know why. I just need to know.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's really irrelevant. I mean, the point of this game is to keep that, this little white ball in front of you. If you can do that, and I've seen some what people would call terrible golf swings accomplish that goal. And if you can do that, who cares what your swing looks like? I mean, I don't have a pretty golf swing, but it works for me.
Yeah, Jim Furyk doesn't have a pretty golf swing.
No, it's
golfers of all time. I mean,
exactly. And Jim, I mean, he's obviously an aberration in a sea of guys with perfect golf swings. But I try and when I talk about the swing on my site, I'm trying to bring people back to reality. There's nothing that's realistic, like I said, about a PGA Tour golf swing for the average golfer.
So you have a bunch of really cool brands on your website, Game Golf and Orange Whip, and Orange Whip is the best investment you could make in a training aid, in my opinion, because it's a silly, easy concept that just freaking works. But out of all those brands that you work with, how do you pick and choose them? And do you have any big brands you're hoping to work with in 2017?
I've ever since I've started the site, I'm not trying to be the review guy. I do reviews on my site, but there's plenty of other websites out there that do product reviews. When I do a review, it's about a product that I've tried out and I genuinely think it's going to help someone else, whether it's a training aid, a piece of technology, a book. So Orange Whip is one of those products. I've used it for a couple of years now, and I personally, in terms of the golf swing, I believe deeply in tempo, rhythm, balance, timing, all of that stuff. And that's, like you said, it's an easy product that anyone can use for 10 minutes every night in their home. And it really can do good things for your golf swing. So that's, one of the products that, I personally use and have written about. And, I know them over there. They're great guys. But that's, listen, there's a million training aids out there. There's a lot of junk. That's one of them that's obviously, tour players use it. A lot of recreational golfers use it. There's a reason for that.
So there are a lot of pros out there. I mean, you've mentioned a handful. Every golf club's got a couple, and there are so many teaching pros out there. In your opinion, without being biased to the guys that you work with, who are some of your 2, 3, 4, 5 top guys that you think are some of the best pros out there, and not necessarily what they're doing to make them the best, but just who do you think are the ones that are, from an instructional perspective, moving the needle in their space?
I like teachers that don't necessarily teach one version of the golf swing. I've been witness to instructors who are taking 20 different kinds of golfers and making them try and swing the golf club the same exact way. And listen, this is a very complicated topic, the golf swing, but I like the teachers that kind of would work with what you've got and not make major changes. Because listen, when I write an article, I believe I'm writing to the golfer that works a full-time job, might have a family, a ton of obligations. They don't have unlimited time to work on their golf game. So I just work under that assumption. And when we're talking about instructor or working with a teacher, I don't believe you've got 10 hours a day to groove your swing from this completely new one. So the coaches that I respect and work with are like a name like Adam Young is, someone who's become a really good friend of mine. Adam really doesn't teach a golf swing. He teaches skills. And this is something I've kind of done my whole life without realizing it, just experimentation. When I was a kid, I used to just spend hours in the backyard trying to hit all different kinds of shots. And that's skill development. That's not technique. I wasn't thinking about, what my wrists were doing or anything like that. I was just trying to be creative. And that's the type of things he likes to do. He's got some knowledge of motor research and how, the brain functions and learns. So he's one of the guys that I immediately connected with when I started my site. And, we share very similar philosophies about the golf swing.
So we talked about his book is really good too. I'm sure.
Yeah, great book, The Practice Manual.
So we talked about the book a little bit. Where can people buy it? I mean,
it's on Amazon.
Nice.
So I have it available on Kindle, and then you can purchase it as a paperback. I have the paperback right here. You can see it. And yeah, it's gone well. It's been out for almost a year. It's sold. I think I'm over 3,000 copies now. I've sold, so it's done pretty well. It was at some points it's been number one on Amazon Golf, so it's done well.
So technically, you're a number one bestseller. I'm just saying.
I mean, like for a few hours.
Hey, it doesn't matter.
And then Adam Young took it from me.
That's awesome. Well, it's cool that you're able to connect with those guys and know those same guys that are in that same space. And
sure, yeah, I think the great thing about listen, there's a ton of people giving instruction online, and like one of the hardest things is like, who do you listen to, and whose version of the swing is right? And I always tell people, like, listen to what makes sense to you. If it doesn't make sense, then like forget it. But someone like Adam or Andrew Rice or Brandon Stooksbury, I think they've got a great way of communicating, and that's what you really need to do online. Like, it's different when you're one-on-one with someone, but if you're talking about golf online through articles or YouTube videos, you better be able to communicate what you're thinking to people very clearly, or else it's not going to work out for anyone.
So I didn't tell you before we went live that this was going to fly by, and it did. We have about 2 minutes left. But Before we go, and first off, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Like, I've been following you for a long time, and I love your content.
I appreciate that.
So one of the questions that's coming, so we do this segment of the show every week. It's called the Back Nine. It's just 9 fun, random questions that are about you and about golf and your personal side of golf. And one of these questions is about Tiger. So when you get to that, now we've become good friends here. So if you, depending on how you answer that, will depend on whether I just shut the laptop or if we keep this conversation going. But if you've ever watched an episode of the 3 years of the Friday Foursome, or the year, almost a year, we're knocking on the door of a year of the hashtag Wednesday Match Play, you know what's coming. But are you ready for your Back Nine?
Let's do it.
All right, you're a budding golfer. What's your handicap?
1.1.
That's stupid. That's so good. I want to be. Mine's gone up, so teach me to go down.
And people like it wasn't always that, but I shouldn't have added the 0.1. I always do that because people think I'm a jerk for saying the tenth of a point, but like, I'm a numbers guy, so like those tenths of a whatever, they mean something to me.
I get it. I was 2.2, and then I started hitting a new Callaway driver. I hope my pro is watching, because now I'm a 5.6. Dan, fix my swing or fix my driver. What golf ball are you currently playing?
I have been using the Snell, my tour ball, for a while.
No kidding. Is it good?
I wrote about it. I used it, and like other people who have used it, you really can't tell the difference between that and the Pro V1. It spins just as much. It's just as soft. It's just as durable, but it's half the price. So there's a lot of disruption going on in the golf ball industry right now. I'm sure you've heard about this Costco mess. But yeah, I've been using the Snell ball. I mean, listen, I've played the Pro V1 for a really long time. Personally, my own opinion, I don't think golf balls make as much of a difference as everyone makes them out to be. For most golfers, play the ball that's in the right category for you, but the technology is so good at this point. Like, I can't imagine you're going to see a meaningful change in your golf game by switching to the TaylorMade or the Callaway tour ball.
Or the Bridgestone.
Or the Bridgestone, yeah, great. Listen, yeah, they all make
Uh-huh.
great balls. And like, I know Tiger was not paid by them, or at least not officially, to switch to that ball, so that
Yeah.
means something about him.
Tiger's getting paid. I don't know
Yeah,
whether
I mean,
it's coming from
I don't think
Bridgestone or
Tiger. I don't think
somebody.
Tiger gets out of bed without a check made out to him.
So, what's your favorite golf course? I mean, it's probably under snow right now, but
Hopefully, I'm gonna get to play it next week when I go down to Florida. I think my favorite golf course is a place called the Dye Preserve in Jupiter. I'm lucky enough to have a family friend who belongs there. It's a Pete Dye course. It's a beautiful. It used to be a hunting reserve. It's in the middle of nowhere in Jupiter, Florida. It's just a great, challenging, difficult golf course, but right up there at Torrey Pines. I played it again a couple months ago. I think that would, that's 1 and 1A for me.
I like how you call a Pete Dye course challenging, because by calling it Pete Dye, it therefore is challenging. That's
yeah, to be honest, that particular one I've always played well on, so I don't, share the same, disdain for his courses that other golfers do, right? At least at this moment. Maybe I'll shoot an 85.
Let me know how that goes. 1.1.
Yeah.
What's your favorite major?
This is I don't know. It's not the PGA. We'll take that out right off the bat. That's like Sophie's Choice. I don't know. It's whatever one I just ended. I love the Masters when it ends. I love the U.S. Open, and I love the Open when it. I mean,
I'm so glad you didn't call it the British Open, because then I was going to yell at you for calling it that.
I can't. I think they're all so unique. I would have to say, based on what happened this year with the USGA, I was not happy with the US Open, but thankfully he still won. But, I love them all. It's just, for me, the PGA Championship just doesn't have the same history that the other three have.
So the rule changed. Can you imagine had he have been called on that rule and had lost?
I don't even want to think about that.
I'd quit the tour. I'd be like, I don't even want to play on your tour anymore.
And when they went up to him, you were just like, oh my God, it's happening again to him, because anyone who's followed his career in the majors, just these bizarre things keep happening. So, I'm happy that he flushed that. What was it, a 6-iron on 18 from 200 yards to about 3 feet. Thankfully, he did that, or else we'd be having an entirely different conversation.
I don't hit a 6-iron that far, but that's not the topic of this conversation. Okay, you've played a lot of good golf courses. You just mentioned one that's fantastic in Tiger's backyard. Out of all of the publicly accessible courses that you've not played, which one sits atop your bucket list?
Ones that you can play publicly? I would have to say Cabot Links, and I want to play that in Canada. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Canadians. Cabot Links, okay. And Bandon Dunes, like Whistling Straits, all of the the great, I guess you would call them, resort courses. I live right near Bethpage Black, so I've had the fortune of, and Bethpage Red is also an incredible public course. So I'd say those three are on the tops of my list, but there's add another 100 that I can't think of right now.
The 100 that you can't think of are all Troon courses. You forgot to add it.
Yeah, I know. I apologize for not adding.
You should have like
Troon,
Southern Dunes, Tiburon Golf Club, wink, wink, in Florida. Come down and play.
Listen, I'll tee it up anywhere. I grew up, playing on a public 9-hole course. I'd still go back there if it was my only choice. I don't care. All
right, good answer. Now let's have a drink. What are you ordering?
I'm into the craft beer like you. I'm the guy who only drinks IPAs for whatever reason.
I'm a hophead.
It's weird because I'm not I love intense flavor in food, and I guess that's kind of the way I've gone with beer. I do like lagers, but mostly, I have a few really great beer distributors near my house, so I'm always going there and trying, whatever IPA just came in or anything like that. But I think I prefer the West Coast ones. Like if I had to choose a favorite, it would be like the Stone, the Lagunitas. You can't go wrong. But like that's my flavor profile. I think those two are my favorite.
Yeah, we're gonna get along just fine. Favorite LPGA Tour player? And don't say Lexi, because that's way too easy.
No, I mean, it's got to be Lydia Ko, because, I love watching LPGA golf just in general, because I think the way they swing the club is just, it's beautiful. It's perfectly in rhythm. A lot of the men's game is about power now. So I think any golfer who's looking to take a cue from a professional should actually be watching the women. They've got wonderful feel around the greens, but watching Lydia Ko play, it's just, and again, I know she's had a major rift with her coach and going in a different direction with her swing, but watching the way she manages her game and swings the club at 19 years old is insane. So I love watching her play, especially her wedge game. I mean, she's just 100 yards and in, she's just locked in.
Now, I said earlier we were going to have a question that was about Tiger, and it's very important how you answer this, depending on whether or not we continue having conversations. Do you think he breaks the record? Why or why not?
I'm a Tiger denier, I guess is what you would call me. I was the guy who was saying like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to break it, even when he was going through the surgeries. I think if he can remain healthy, and I'm not sure if I do think he can remain healthy, I wouldn't bet against him. I wouldn't bet against the greatest, I believe the greatest golfer of all time if he's healthy. Why would you? Someone like him, guys like him in sports only come around, once every 20, 30, 40 years. There's a short list of names that you could put Tiger Woods next to in the sports world, not just golf. So, but it's the health. If he can't practice as much as he's accustomed to, and play enough, then probably not. So I just don't know. I think if he can, based on what I saw in the tournament he played, like, I think he can win again. I just don't know if his body's going to let him do it.
So basically what I heard you say was, yes.
I know that's such like a diplomatic, like, jerk answer.
I've said to echo that.
It means so much to me. Like it really, following his career has been like one of the great things of like my sporting life.
It does come down to the health, and I honestly believe that if he can remain healthy, there's no question he didn't forget how to play golf. He comes back after a year and a half, and he leads the field in birdies. And I mean,
I wouldn't. Why would you bet against it? Like, I understand everything that's happened, with the scandal, and you're like, oh, it's his mental game. I wouldn't bet against a guy like that.
Bingo. I like good answer. I'm going to tweet that. And your final question of your hashtag Wednesday match play, again, thank you for coming on the show, is what's next for Practical Golf?
I just want to continue writing good content that I hope helps golfers, think differently about their game. I think that's, my main goal. It's like I've been around golfers my whole life, playing on public courses, and I've, struggled mightily with my game, for many years, and I still do. I'm still trying to push things forward. So I just, want to keep putting quality information out there that, certain golfers can connect with, and, keep meeting more coaches that I can learn from. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully write a few more books, and then we'll see where it goes.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for coming on the show. If you want to be a good coach, Tiburon Golf Club, Chad Nigro is a fantastic coach. So I would love to introduce you to him.
Yeah, always looking to connect with people.
Kind of my job is marketing this property in Naples, Florida. But as always, on the hashtag Wednesday Match Play. And again, we're coming up with another episode here in a few minutes with Jesus Martinez from Top Golf. Eat, sleep, golf.